In the autumn of 1939, just weeks after the outbreak of the Second World War, a strange report was written in the files of a German radio station near Munich. A young operator, Heinrich Keller, claimed that during a late-night shift he heard a whisper over the static. The words were faint, almost drowned by the hum of the machine, but he swore it was a child's nickname, Lotte. This would not have mattered, except for one detail. That name belonged to the 9-year-old daughter of the Bauer family, a shoemaker's household in a small Bavarian town, and no one outside that family circle ever used it. The operator made a note in his log, and the page still survives in a box of wartime archives. His words are simple. Signal at 23:15. Female voice, young. Name spoken 3 times. No source identified. At the time, it was dismissed as static. But to later readers, it became the first trace of a mystery that has never been explained. The Bauer family lived in a modest 2-story home near the village church. The father, Karl, worked as a shoemaker. His wife, Anna, kept the household. Their daughter, Charlotte, always called Lotta, was a quiet child who filled notebooks with little drawings of saints and angels. The town itself was small, no more than 1,000 souls, surrounded by fields and forest. In 1939, it carried 2 faces. The official one, lined with red banners and swastikas, and the hidden one, where faith lingered in candlelit kitchens and whispered prayers. One detail makes the family stand out in the record. When Nazi officers came through the village to remove Catholic statues from the church, the Bauers remained untouched. Parish files tell us that the Virgin Mary from the altar was taken away, along with the crucifix. But in the Bauer home, something else stayed safe, hidden away in the darkness of the attic. A diary written by the local priest, Father Georg, gives us the first direct testimony. The statue from our altar is gone. Yet I know there is another. Anna Bauer spoke to me with tears. She says her family keeps a holy icon in their attic. It is the Virgin Mary, brought here by her grandmother. I begged her to be careful. If they find it, it will not only be the icon taken, it will be their lives. The attic itself is described in later witness notes. Rough wooden beams, a low roof, dust covering the floorboards, and one small window that faced the fields. Wrapped in a linen cloth, the icon lay hidden in a wooden chest. Neighbors began to whisper. A farmer's wife, interviewed after the war, said she saw a glow from the Bauer attic on nights when air raid sirens sounded. She remembered seeing a soft light in the window when the rest of the village sat in darkness. Another villager, a tailor named Mueller, told Allied officers in 1946 that he once passed the Bauer house and heard voices when no one was inside. He thought at first it was the sound of prayer. Later, he wondered if it was something else. One of the most disturbing pieces of evidence comes from Lotta herself. In her small notebook, later recovered in rubble, she drew the Virgin Mary over and over again. The sketches are crude but intense. Next to one she wrote, "She speaks to me when I'm afraid. She says, stay quiet, stay safe." What makes the entry chilling is the date, September 15th, 1939. That was the night German soldiers first arrived in the town. The villagers watched the Bauers carefully. Some admired their faith, others were suspicious. A note filed by the local Nazi Party office shows that in October 1939, the family was mentioned by name. The words are plain. Report: Bauer family attends no party meetings. Neighbors complain of nightly gatherings. Possible unapproved religious activity. No action was taken then. But the family had marked themselves as different. And difference, in that time and place, was dangerous. The first chapter of the story closes with a letter written years later, found in Allied records. It came from a neighbor who survived the war. Her name was Maria Vogel, and she remembered the attic window. On nights of bombing, when all lights must be dark, I saw a glow from their attic. It was not fire, not candle. It was soft, steady, and it made me cross myself. The soldiers never saw it, or they pretended not to. I do not know. But I believe the Bauers had something holy with them, something that kept them alive when others vanished. The question is simple. If the Virgin Mary icon was truly hidden in that attic, how did it escape the eyes of the authorities? And why did every attempt to record its presence, the priest's diary, the radio operator's log, the girl's drawings, leave more mystery than clarity? What began as a child's nickname, whispered over static, had grown into something larger, a secret relic in the heart of Nazi Germany. A family standing between silence and survival. As the war deepened through 1940 and 1941, the Bauer family's attic became a point of quiet attention in the village. Few spoke openly, but many noticed small details that later appeared in diaries and interviews. The parish priest, Father Georg, continued to write carefully in his journal. His notes were plain, but they revealed the growing tension. They take our relics, but the Bauers keep theirs. Carl works quietly, fixing boots for soldiers and farmers. Anna prays with her daughter. I visit and see the same bundle wrapped in linen, always the same. I warn them each time. If the wrong eyes see this, there will be no mercy. They nod, but do not answer. This diary was hidden inside the church wall and discovered in 1952 during repairs. Its ink had faded, but the message remained clear. The Bauers were keeping something that others had already lost. The attic itself became almost legendary. A village boy, interviewed in 1947, said he had once climbed onto the roof chasing a ball. Through a crack in the wood, he saw a picture of a woman with stars around her head. When he told his mother, she slapped him and told him never to speak of it again. The detail matches descriptions of Marian icons common in Bavaria. The Virgin, crowned with stars, hands open in prayer. But no such artifact was ever recovered. By 1942, the pressure increased. A new Gestapo officer was posted to the region. His reports survive in the Berlin archives. One page mentions the Bauer family by name. Observation continues. Neighbors whisper of strange light from attic. Family does not participate in party events. The child speaks of visions. Consider search order if more complaints arise. The handwriting is neat, the words cold. For the Bauers, it meant danger was no longer distant. It was at their door. Witness testimony shows how the family responded. A seamstress, Maria Adler, remembered being invited one evening to mend a torn coat. She described being led upstairs, where Anna Bauer whispered, "Do not look too closely. Do not ask questions." But the seamstress admitted she did look. On the chest, covered by linen, she saw the faint outline of wood and paint. She told Allied officers later, "It was heavy, sacred. I cannot explain why, but I felt my knees weaken when I saw it." The risk became sharper in the winter of 1942. Karl Bauer was summoned for questioning by the local Gestapo office. He was held for 3 days. Surviving notes from the interrogation mention only that he was asked about religious gatherings in his home. He returned pale, silent, and thinner. Yet he had not been charged. Neighbors later whispered that the officer who interrogated him fell ill soon after. His reports stopped abruptly. Some villagers believed the icon itself had protected Karl, though no proof was ever given. The most haunting details come again from Lotte. Her notebook, though damaged, contains entries from this period. One page shows a sketch of the attic window with stars drawn outside. Next to it, she wrote, "She says I must be brave. She says no harm will come if we are quiet." Another entry is stranger still. It shows a rough map of the town, with the Bauer house marked in the center. Around it, in small circles, she wrote words that look like prayers, but shift into nonsense syllables. Some researchers believe they were attempts to write what she heard in whispered voices at night. In March 1943, the tension broke. A neighbor reported the family to the local authorities. The file, preserved in Munich, reads, "Suspicion, concealment of forbidden religious icon. Strange gatherings, glow from attic window, non-cooperation with party." A search was ordered. But here, the story takes a strange turn. Witnesses remember soldiers entering the Bauer house on a cold morning. They searched the ground floor, the kitchen, the workshop. They even climbed into the attic. But when they came down, they carried nothing. The report filed later states, "No evidence found." Yet villagers swore they had seen the chest carried into the attic many times. How could it vanish when men in uniform finally looked? The consequence of this event landed hard on the family. Father Georg wrote in his diary, "Karl's eyes have lost their fire. Anna prays more than ever. Lotte looks older, though she is only a child. They do not speak of what happened that day, but I know something was seen, or heard, or felt, that made the soldiers leave empty-handed." Decades later, a letter surfaced written by Anna Bauer to her sister in another village. It was dated April 1943. "We are safe, though I do not know how. They looked everywhere. I thought it was the end, but when they came down from the attic, they said nothing. Their faces were white. One made the sign of the cross, though he tried to hide it. I tell you only this: she is still with us." This line, "she is still with us," has become one of the most discussed phrases in all the records. Did Anna mean the icon itself, the Virgin Mary image hidden in cloth, or something greater, something alive in the attic shadows? The Bauer family's secret was no longer only theirs. It was now a matter of files, whispers, and quiet terror. And the war was far from over. By 1944, the war was closing in on Bavaria. Bombs fell on nearby cities. Refugees passed through the village in long lines. Soldiers came and went, their faces tired, their uniforms torn. The Bauer family kept to themselves, still quiet, still different. One of the last notes in Father Georg's diary reads, "They live in shadows. The attic is more than wood and dust now. Lotte tells me she sees a woman in light who speaks when the bombs fall. She calls her mother. I do not ask more. I only pray." The diary ends abruptly in July 1944. Father Georg was arrested soon after, accused of defeatist speech. He never returned. The Bauer family's own trail ends in the spring of 1945, just before the American army entered the village. Several neighbors later testified to Allied officers that they saw soldiers enter the Bauer home on April 29th. A U.S. private, Robert Harris, filed a short report that survives in the National Archives. It reads, "Entered civilian property near church. Found attic with bundle wrapped in linen, heavy, shaped like religious object. Too dark for detail. Left property, planned return." But when Harris and his unit came back 2 days later, the bundle was gone. The attic was empty. The Bauer family had vanished as well. No record of them exists after that day. A missing page appears in the official German files. In a Berlin folder marked Seized Religious Objects, 1939-1945, every town has a list of confiscated items. But where the Bauer village should be listed, there is only a blank sheet. Researchers who studied the file in the 1960s believed the page had been removed. Others said it had never been written. Either way, the absence has become as famous as the reports themselves. The daughter's notebook, found in rubble in 1947, adds a final human twist. On the last page, she wrote only one line in shaky letters. She says, "We must go now." She says light will follow us. The handwriting stops mid-sentence. The rest of the page is blank. After the war, Allied investigators collected testimonies. Some were simple, describing the family as quiet, harmless, devout. Others hinted at more. A woman named Frau Weiss told officers, "On the night they disappeared, I heard singing from the attic. Not German, not Latin, something else. Then silence." Another man, a former party member, gave a stranger report. He swore he saw light above the Bauer house that night, like the glow of a lamp, but too bright, too white. He did not stay to watch. He fled. For decades, nothing more was heard. The Bauer name does not appear in Red Cross records of displaced persons. No graves were found. No descendants came forward. The house itself burned down in the 1950s, leaving only stone foundations. Yet the story did not vanish. In 1978, a historian at the University of Munich uncovered fragments of U.S. Army interviews. In one transcript, an officer says, "The attic was empty when we checked the second time, but I'll never forget the feeling, as if we had walked in on something we weren't meant to see." Modern researchers still debate what happened. Some argue the Bauer family smuggled the icon away during the last days of war. Others believe it was destroyed by fire or taken secretly by Allied soldiers. A few go further, suggesting that the icon was never just wood and paint, but something living, something that chose when to appear. The truth may never be known. What survives are fragments: the radio operator's log, the priest's diary, the Gestapo reports, the missing page, the little girl's notebook. Together they form a puzzle that no one has solved. One question remains. Why did the icon, if it existed, never reappear? If it was hidden for protection, why did it vanish once the war ended? The last words belong to Lotta's notebook. Scholars often return to them, not for answers, but for the silence they leave behind. She says light will follow us. The Bauer family story ends in absence. No bodies, no graves, no icon. Only whispers in files, testimonies in fading ink, and the memory of an attic glow that no bomb or soldier could erase. This has been a fictional story, told in the style of forgotten archives and lost testimonies. If you want to hear more stories like this one, subscribe to our channel and tap the bell.